Heating system in the Volkswagen Beetle. How did we stay warm in the iconic car? Today, we're talking about the heating system in the Beetle, how it worked, who designed it, and whether the stories about weak heating and drivers often having to wear jackets are actually true. Are these stories based on reality, or are they just jealous claims made to mock the Beetle as a simple, cheap car, but one that's tough and full of heart? When you think of the Volkswagen Beetle, you probably picture its cute shape, reliable engine. But did you know that the Beetle's heating system was a true little technical adventure? The heating system in the Beetle was developed by a team at VW under the leadership of Ferdinand Porsche. How do you heat a car without coolant? The Beetle is unique because it has an air-cooled engine. The early Beetles, including the pre-production models before and during World War II, practically had no real heating system. Since the engine was air-cooled, there was no hot coolant like in water-cooled cars to warm up the cabin. The only source of warmth? The car's body slowly heating up from the sun or engine heat. In regular cars, heat comes from antifreeze circulating through a heater core inside the cabin. But the Beetle, no antifreeze. So how did the Germans solve it? The answer: exhaust heat. Volkswagen developed a system that used the heat from the exhaust pipes to warm up air that was blown into the cabin, without letting the exhaust gases themselves inside. The first systems development begins 1938 until 1945. The first Beetle models, in the late 30s and 40s, had no real heating system. Drivers braved the cold, with the only heat coming from the engine warming the metal body. By the late 40s and early 50s, VW started introducing heat exchangers, metal heater boxes that wrapped around the exhaust manifolds. The idea: capture the exhaust heat to warm fresh air that was piped into the cabin. How did it work? Fresh air was drawn in by a fan through the vents below the rear window and pushed through paper hoses to the heat exchangers. Inside the heat exchangers, the fresh air flowed around hot exhaust pipes, warming up from their heat. The exhaust gases traveled through these pipes, but remained separated from the cabin air. The warmed air was then directed into the cabin. Pros and cons. You got free heat from the engine, no extra energy needed. The benefit of this system was its simplicity, no extra radiators, pumps, or coolant. But the downside was that heat exchangers were prone to rust. If they developed holes, carbon monoxide could seep inside, a serious danger. And heating was slow. It only worked well once the engine warmed up. It depended on engine speed. Improvements in the 50s and 60s. VW added better insulated pipes and air control flaps, so you could choose if the warm air went to your feet or the windshield. Premium solution: gasoline heaters. In colder regions, especially Scandinavia and Canada, VW offered an optional gasoline heater. Brands like Eberspacher BN4 or Webasto, these heaters worked independently from the engine, like a tiny gasoline furnace inside the car. You'd turn it on before getting in, and the cabin would be warm before the engine even started. But it cost more and required regular maintenance. Advantage was instant heat, even with a cold engine. Downside was complex maintenance, possible smells, even fire risk if not used properly. Funny anecdotes about Beetle heating. Here are some funny stories about Beetle heating from the past. In Norway, kids had the job of scraping ice off the inside of the windshield while their dads drove. Because of the heating and moisture issues, a popular joke said that you had to drive a Beetle wearing a jacket and gloves, and the favorite accessory was a blanket on the back seat. In a 60s advertisement, Volkswagen jokingly admitted, "If you live in Hawaii, the Beetle has perfect heating." But there's also a completely opposite story. A certain Mr. Jurica Stankovic, now a retired pilot from Niš, once wanted to prove to his family and friends just how well the heating in his Beetle worked. So, in the middle of winter, he proudly drove around town wearing nothing but a sleeveless t-shirt. In the later production years, 70s and 80s, VW improved heat exchanger designs with larger heat surfaces and more efficient fans. And the heating actually worked quite well. As soon as the engine started running, warm air would begin to flow into the cabin. It only took a few minutes for the cabin to start warming up. Many people tell all kinds of stories about how the Beetle's heating doesn't work properly, that it's cold, that they need blankets, or have to drive wearing a jacket, but that's simply not true. If the entire heating system is in working order, there's no problem staying warm in a Beetle, sometimes even warmer than you'd like. It always comes down to proper maintenance of the whole heating system. Over the decades, VW refined the system, but the principle remained the same: exhaust heat warming cabin air. The basic idea never changed. One of the simplest yet most ingenious solutions in automotive history. So next time you see a Beetle on the road, remember, its warmth came straight from the engine's heart, and its drivers, despite it all, always had a smile on their face. Please like and subscribe, and watch another videos on this channel.